so long as the political right, the independents, the freedom type individuals, the liberty-minded can't work together, there will be nothing but chaos culturally and politically. The establishment in the mainstream, I mean, they're aflame. That's just been pure chaos for some time. Twitter is a trash hole. It's lost a ton of people. Its stock had dropped recently, and their new CEO is ban happy. But what's the alternative? Getter? CEO of Getter says they're going to ban hate speech, same as anybody else. But they'll allow you to talk about politics. Twitter doesn't, so there's your competition. Then you have, Parler, which went up in flames. Okay, I don't know, that's basically gone. It's just pure chaos. Gab seems to be the only social media platform that actually allows you to have free speech. Mind you, there are some restrictions, like you can't do illegal things, and doxing is against the rules. And I think most people basically agree doxing probably should be against the rules. I don't know if it should be illegal, but I don't think anybody wants to be in a platform where people are just going to spam your address and they just cause problems for you. But we have another website, Trump's Truth Social, with breaking news. They are developing a content moderation practice to ensure family-friendly community. Bravo, everyone. Everyone who worked on Donald Trump's platform. It will be more censorious than Twitter, Gab, Getter, Parler, at least based on the initial reporting here. It would seem that you will be worse off on Donald Trump's social media platform than you would be on Twitter. Now, maybe not Twitter. Maybe Getter is better. That's funny, right? Getter is probably going to be better than Trump's Truth Social. It is better than Twitter. Gab is probably better than all of them in terms of free speech. The First Amendment is their community guidelines. As long as it's legal speech and protected, you're allowed to say it. But I think what we're actually seeing is that deep down, whether anyone wants to admit it, they don't want to be on a free speech platform. They want to be on a platform where their particular speech is accepted, allowed, and can flourish. Why don't more people use Gab? Well, Gab as a central hub for true free speech. The website's open source, but as an actual place for free speech, people don't want to go there. And I'm not trying to drag Gab. I'm dragging people. Most people who fled to Gab in the first place are of a particular worldview, and many of these Trump supporters, especially people, and many people on the left, particularly left, don't want to communicate with them. And thus, you're creating tribal pocket social media. This is ultimately where we're going. Now, nobody really wants to be in an echo chamber, but that's what you'll get. On Twitter, if you say learn to code, you're banned. On Getter, apparently they're better than Twitter in some respects, but they still ban hate speech. So maybe people will migrate to Getter, but the left probably won't because they don't want certain news allowed anyway. So then you have Parler, which is in the dust, I guess. Trump Truth Social is going to be worse than Twitter. I just see chaos. I see nothing that will bring anyone together. Here's the breaking story from Fox Business. They report exclusive. When Truth Social launches later this quarter, the Trump Media and Technology Group social media platform will already have stringent content moderation practices in place to ensure it is family-friendly. It is a family-friendly online community, according to Devin Nunes. Both Nunes and former President Trump separately have told Fox Business that Truth Social is expected to be up and running by the end of the first quarter of 2022. But those involved in the final stage of the platform's development told Fox Business that they anticipate that malign actors will target the site and attempt to flood the platform with illegal content, especially during and immediately after the formal launch. Fox Business has learned that Trump Media Group is partnering with Hive, a San Francisco-based Series D startup that provides automated solutions through cloud-based artificial intelligence for understanding images, videos, and text content. Hive's technology provides automated content moderation across video, image, text, and audio. Hey, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You will get nothing from this platform. Let me just tell you guys, I'd love for there to be a functioning, popular free speech wing of the free speech party. But there's a reason why Twitter bans these people. The left, well, they're soft, frail, wads of cookie dough who can't handle mean speech. And so they panic and they quit. Look at what's that guy who cried, the Lego Will Wheaton. They made a Lego character for Star Wars where he was crying. That's what I was going to reference. The guy who was crying in Star Trek. He got really mad about that. He quit Twitter. He was like, I'm not going to be on Twitter because Donald Trump is allowed to be here. And then he goes to Mastodon, and they were like, you're a bigot and you're banned. And he was like, well, then I guess I'll go nowhere. That's the left on Twitter. The whiny crybabies who are like, if you don't change the rules, I'm going to go home and you can't play. So Twitter looks at the two groups and says, look, the Trump supporters are more resilient, meaning they'll stick around even if we ban them. They can tolerate this. The left won't. So mathematically, what makes the most sense? Ban the right to accommodate the left, then we'll retain as many people as possible. A lot of people think Twitter is overtly political. I don't necessarily think it's true. I think they are political. I think they do have their biases, but I think a lot of what this is just maximizing user base. Certainly, I believe politics plays a role in a lot of what they do. I think the CEO, Jack Dorsey, when he was CEO, was being duplicitous. I think many of their staff are, but I think Twitter looked at it like the left can say anything and the right won't leave the platform. But if the right says learn to code, the left will freak out. They'll publish articles. They'll hurt our stock price. So ban as many people on the right as we can to maximize the amount of people who use the platform. I bet they even have an algorithm, like an equation, where they were like, the most people that can, largest percentage that can be tolerated will end up being like 80% right wing and like 60% left wing. But the most vocal users and most active users will end up being left wing. And so you have to get rid of some of the right so the left stays to find that happy medium. Well, I don't know what Trump Truth Social will actually end up doing. They aren't wrong to say they will be flooded with illegal and disgusting content. That's for sure. But if they're going to be family friendly, and even Twitter isn't family friendly, what makes you think you'll be able to say the things you want to say on this platform? It's just another site. They're going to say, quote, we want to be very family friendly. We want this to be a very safe place. And we are focused on making sure any illegal content is not on that site. Hive has a great track record on this, and they have been good to work with, Nunes said. They are very helpful for our team, and because of their experience, I think they're helping to craft the right spot for us. So Trump's Truth Social will be using artificial intelligence to ban things. What's going to happen? The same thing that Twitter does. You're going to go on and you're going to say, ha ha ha, learn to code. Maybe not specifically learn to code, but then you'll get banned. That's one of the big problems. The reason why Twitter keeps saying, oh, it's an accident. Oh, it's an accident. Partly because, well, it's not. Because their algorithms are designed to go after people, for the most part, who are on the right. You need only look at their misgendering policy. So people don't really want free speech. They don't. Look, I think most people want free speech, but only as it pertains to what they want to say. For instance, how many parents do you think would be happy if someone took the left's message and started parading around downtown with big signs? See, there's a difference here. In a public space, the commons, which we have to use, you may end up with parents being like, I do not like that message, but I understand they have a right to do it. But what happens if it's a private establishment, a movie theater, or a shopping mall? And you walk in the shopping mall and there are people with all of these things here. Well, the parents are going to be like, let's go to the other mall. This one's creepy. And then that mall is going to say, yo, this is hurting our business. And they're going to say, shut it down. Stop this picketing. Then the people go to another mall, and there's Trump, who says, no, I don't want any of these lefties coming to my mall with the crazy Antifa stuff, so we're going to shut that down too. Regular people would prefer to avoid disgusting and awful speech. The challenge now is when you have platforms that are designed to allow people to communicate, which does impact politics, people need to be able to say what they want to say. And so it is challenging. The difference being that even when you do block people, and that should be the principal solution, other people they can make a new account. They can get around it. So it's difficult. When you're in the real world and you know that you're going to be walking down the street, there's something interesting in the social restrictions people experience. Very few people want to confront someone face to face, but online, there's no fear. So it seems like when it comes to Twitter, Truth, Gab, whatever platform you're using, the dial is cranked up to 11. People are like, I can't see you. I don't know you. This is what I really think. In the real world, we don't deal with that. In the real world, people keep to themselves and they try to avoid saying certain things. And I'll tell you this, it's one of the reasons why on Timcast IRL, we do not do remote conversations, because there's something very different about listening and looking at a camera as opposed to sitting down in front of me and speaking. And I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I know it. I've done interviews. When someone's sitting there, when someone's actually talking to you, there's a restriction. There's like a personal thing. It's like, I don't want to get too confrontational. And maybe it's because of what I think Mike Tyson said this. Maybe it was Mike Tyson. That people have become too comfortable with not getting punched in the face. I don't think anybody should be hitting anybody, right? However, if you go out in public and say some of the things people say on Twitter to someone to their face, yeah, you're going to get into a fight. And it's bad. Fighting is, I don't like fighting, especially if someone's just trying to, insult you and trigger you. If someone attacks you, defend yourself for sure. But I mean, think about it. On Twitter, people will scream, just whatever they want at someone else. I understand why Trump wants to make it family friendly. His view is probably that Truth Social is not going to be a public park where people are playing baseball and yelling profanities. It's going to be more like a private indoor arena where there's a dress code and, that's fine, I guess, within reason. The problem I have is these platforms may be in some ways analogous to the real world, but they're so very different. And I don't know if I have all the answers. Personally, I believe if the content is legal, it should be allowed, and you should just block people. You should only follow people that you choose to follow, and you should just, in fact, I'll put it this way. In many ways, these platforms should offer you up controls to make the safest environment for yourself. It should not be family friendly. It should be that you can choose as an individual to set the restrictions. You should choose as a parent to say, we want a censorship. Don't show any posts on this platform that use these words. You can add words to it if you don't want them looking at other words, and you decide as the parent what you want for your family. As an adult, you can say the same things to yourself. Don't show images or videos that are marked not safe for work. I don't want to see it. And that's on you. Why Trump would have to do this? Well, the reality is that it comes down to illegal content. And the concern is if an influx of illegal content appears on any one of these platforms, they'll get booted out of the app stores, making it very difficult for them to thrive because Google and Apple own you. They own what you see. They own the apps on your phone, and they can remove it. Therein lies the big problem. Trump knows that if they try doing what Gab did, they get kicked out in 2 seconds. And then what's their platform? What Trump wants, what Nunes wants, what the Trump crowd wants is a platform where they can talk about Dr. Malone, where they can talk about the 2020 election without getting censored. Anything outside of that, they don't care about. Here's the problem. Is anybody going to want to join this? I mean, let's be real. Trump supporters probably. They want to follow Trump, but you can get Trump's emails. You can follow Trump on Gab. All of Trump's emails appear on Gab. Will the left on Twitter join? No. They're overly sensitive. They can't stand being around it. So what ends up happening is you'll just have parallel economies. Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. I think it leads something disastrous, civil war, potential civil war. But take a look at this from Gizmodo, and this one I find funny. MAGA chuds are failing to grow their audiences on sites like Getter and Gab. This is a lie. It's an absolute false headline. A Washington Post analysis shows that 47 far-right figures followings on Gab, Getter, Rumble, and Telegram have largely flatlined. It's a lie because they go on to say, let me come down here. These are still considerable followings, but there are some caveats. The Post didn't track video views or other forms of engagement, meaning the analysis only accounts for users who at some point clicked follow. While it's possible that some of these users have become highly active and engaged on the sites, the stagnation in follower count seems to indicate it's more likely that they're just lost interest, blah, 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 blah. It's a lie. It is a false headline. It's just that these platforms aren't that big to begin with. They're not failing to grow their audiences. They're growing their audiences substantially. When I joined Getter, it said that I had 800,000 followers or whatever. And I didn't realize that all they did was copy and paste the image from Twitter, which was really dumb because I have over 1 million Twitter followers. And at the time they ported this over only a few months ago, I had 800,000. I don't know why I'm gaining so many followers. Whatever. I guess people are following me. I post nonsense. Okay. I have no idea. I find this whole world to be quite silly and have started treating it like the clown world that it is. But anyway, I digress. Getter decided that because they were getting roasted on these inflated follower counts to actually separate your Getter followers from your actual Twitter followers. It was a dumb move in the first place to mix them, but whatever. I have around 200 and some odd thousand followers on Getter. The interactions are massive. I post a photo and I get thousands of likes and reposts and responses. And I'm actually really impressed. I gotta admit it. Getter is better than Twitter. That's a fact. Is it perfect? No. There are a lot of people who want a pure free speech website. Well, this ain't it. They can try and claim that it is, and it's really annoying to hear the CEO, Jason Miller, say over and over again, we're free speech. No, you're not. You are not free speech. You will never be free speech. Gab isn't even perfect free speech, and it's about as close as you can get. Because Gab does ban some things like impersonation. If it's for parody reasons, they're fine with it. But even in the real world, you're allowed to a certain degree to impersonate people or to dox. So I think it's fair to point out those are reasonable rules on Gab's part. 99.5% free speech, except for these little points that most people agree you shouldn't do anyway. And therein lies the big challenge, though, right? When I was talking with even the CEO of Gab, I'm like, you decided, and we think it's reasonable. The left and the right, everyone basically agrees that doxing is wrong, but there are still there's still that group of free speech purists who think you should be able to incite violence as long as you don't commit it. I don't agree with that. Like, I don't think you should give instruction, encourage people to do that. That's not expression. That's just advancement of crimes of violence against other people. But there are some that argue that speech itself, no matter what you say, is not the action. And there needs to be a line drawn there. And it's a good point. It really is. Here's what we're going to get. Trump wants a place where he can speak to his supporters and bypass the lies from the media, especially as he starts his attempt at running again for the presidency, which I believe will happen. That's the goal of Truth Social. Truth Social will need to auto-ban illegal content. Otherwise, they won't be able to grow. Trump will never, in my opinion, compete with the likes of Twitter. He had an opportunity. He screwed it all up because I think I was told Jared Kushner gave bad advice to Trump. If Trump had left Twitter in the middle of his presidency and gone to Parler or Gab, those platforms would have skyrocketed because the media would have been forced to use them and sign up. Journalists being forced to use it and sign up would result in many other leftists then signing up, creating a new space, a dominant space, that was controlled by those who believed in free speech. Trump didn't do it, and now it's too late. Trump keeps screwing this up, and that's why I say chaos, chaos, chaos. Now, Gizmodo, of course, here has this story, MAGA chuds. It's not true. What they're actually highlighting is that there's a limit to the growth you can get from right-wing people on right-wing platforms when there's 4 of them. Parler, I believe, is still around. Gab is, of course, has always been there. Getter, and now Truth Social. And you think people are going to sign up for all of them? It ain't going to happen. Look, you need the Joe Rogans. You need the Mike Rose. You need celebrities on these platforms to interest people. Now, I think as we move forward, as we age, our generation, you and I, will be aging into power more and more, making more money, gaining more resources, and the boomer generation is going to age out. This means that our way of doing things will become more and more dominant. This matters when we're talking about our ability to communicate on the internet, which is what we do. Twitter controls that message. This is a very serious problem. I have 1 million followers on Twitter. It's the largest microblogging platform. They have hundreds of millions of users around the world. Getter has a few million. Gab, I think they said they have a few million as well. I think there was like 6. Getter said they had like 4 or something. I could be getting the numbers wrong, so I'm not trying to get anybody's numbers wrong here. Truth Social is going to have to attract people from Getter to. I got to be honest. I don't see it. What I see is that the right is inherently individualistic, and thus they're not going to collaborate on any one big mission. The left, being collectivist, will unify around Twitter. Here's the way I see it. The right is thirsty for information. And I don't just mean conservatives. I mean, independents, libertarians, post-liberal, whatever you want to call it. They want debate because they want to actually challenge and address ideas. This is why there's that meme of Ben Shapiro screaming, "Debate me." The left hides from information. There's some law, I forget what it's called. It's an internet law, that any sufficiently unmoderated forum will inherently become right-wing. And it's because the left can only maintain their narrative through authoritarian manipulation. And that's why the best example of this, to give you an example of the left being clueless, is when Lauren Boebert mocked Biden for saying "Truna Nanashabata pressure." Like, that's just gibberish that Joe Biden said. The left responded by saying something's wrong with Lauren Boebert, and what is she even trying to say? Because they don't actually listen to Joe Biden. because the media filters information to keep them all trapped in the matrix. Thus they are. We're breaking out and we're winning. You know, I mentioned in a previous segment, you'll hear, a previous segment about Bill Maher and Barry Weiss. They're behind the curve. But you and I are on the forefront. This kind of platform is the forefront. YouTube is censorious. YouTube is trying to control that narrative. For some reason, they tolerate just a bit of it. Just a bit. But so long as I can keep producing on YouTube, more and more people get access to this. And as long as you guys keep sharing it, we can try to, better inform people as to what's happening. Anyway, I digress. Twitter is a platform where people want to be in the muck and the mire. They want to be hidden under the stairs, locked away in their cupboard, hearing only what they're told. They want to be in the cave, watching the silhouettes dance before them. They don't want to climb out. Outside is scary. Here, it's safe. Just tell me what to think. To quote the great Ethan Klein of the H3 podcast, you don't even got to think about it. Just do what the government tells you. It's not actual quote. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. He said, you don't even got to think about it. Just do what the government tells you. Something like that. Imagine all the people of the world who took that message to heart and where they left off. No. But that's what the modern establishment left is. Shutting up and doing what they're told, not challenging anything, no critical thinking. They accuse the right of being that. Well, the people who go and sign up for Truth Social, for the most part, probably still won't be that. Some of them will be, but for the most part, I'll sign up when Truth Social comes out, check it out and see what's going on, and maybe it'll be all right. Ultimately, I think there's not going to be any kind of cohesive community building on social media. The hyper-partisan divide will keep getting worse. Fighting is inevitable, and we're on the verge of war. So how about that? It was irresistible, the power. Trump thinks he's going to get all of his followers to sign up. I think Trump underestimates just who his followers are. I think Trump has a decent following that's in the high millions, maybe low tens of millions. Low as in maybe 10. People say that Trump got 74 whatever million votes. I'm like, yes, but not all of those people are followers of his who believe in him. Some just thought Biden was really bad and liked to a bit what Trump was doing. So maybe it's fair to say that Trump has a strong base that actually like him of 20 million because he did gain new voters. However, you've got 3 million diehard Trump supporters who are like, Trump is the God Emperor. That scales down to 10 million of them are avid followers of Trump who believe in and agree with his message. Then you get to 20 million who, and I mean, if we're including all of them, who then are just their voters, they're passive. So the diehard Trump supporters believe everything he says and they're voters. So it's all, you see what I'm trying to say? That will not, in my opinion, translate to a robust social media platform. You want to go on a platform where they're family friendly and AI ban stuff and there's less people. Sorry, seems like Trump's platform is doomed to fail. But we'll see. I'll sign up for it. I'll check it out. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.